Next up, we have our last presenter for today before we start our hearing, and that's Senator Manning. You can start.
Okay, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. Senate Bill 939 provides consumer protections in future continuing care retirement community repayable contracts from significant delayed repayments owed to the resident or their surviving heirs. Specifically, the bill requires these contracts to apply interest on delayed lump sum interest fee repayments after the average length of time it takes a provider to resale a unit, which last year I was told to be 6 months or 180 days. Not only is this fair to the waiting party, it creates a much-needed economic incentive for the CCRC to make timely repayments. SB 939 prohibits a CCRC from applying monthly fees after a resident has vacated the unit. The bill also requires the provider to disclose the average and longest length of time for repayment and allows the provider to choose to repay before resale. For some contracts, current law conditions a CCRC entrance fee repayment, referred to as the lump sum payment owed, on the resale of the unit. This has resulted in some seniors or their estates experiencing significant delays in the payment. SB 939 is the product of negotiations with CCRC providers last year and was drafted with the goal of balancing the need for steadfast repayment while ensuring the CCRC can remain fiscally solvent so that current residents are not adversely impacted. We've also addressed the concerns expressed in the governor's veto of my bill last year. With me to provide supporting testimony with the permission of the chair, we have Margaret Griffin, the president of the California Continuing Care Residents Association, and Lynn Davis, who experienced delay in repayment with a CCRC provider. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Would you please, you can start. Say your name again, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. My name is Margaret Griffin. I'm president of the California Continuing Care Residents Association, or CALCRA, and a resident of the University Retirement Community at Davis, California. My husband and I moved to our CCRC 11 years ago. I've been on the CALCRA board since 2009 and president since 2010. CALCRA is the sole organization representing seniors living in CCRCs in California. Our mission is to enhance the quality of life and financial security of CCRC residents. We're proud to sponsor SB 939. The decision to leave your established home and move to a CCRC is a significant one and usually involves payment of a substantial entrance fee to the CCRC provider. Many resident contracts include a provision to repay a percentage of that fee when the resident moves out or dies. Unfortunately, there are a number of instances where the required repayment has been delayed for several years. Also, providers have continued to charge monthly maintenance fees after the unit has been vacated and until it is eventually sold. These conditional refunds can also create an incentive for providers to sell other available units prior to those that have refund provisions attached. SB 939 would establish time limits for these repayment obligations and interest payments if those time limits are not met. It would also prohibit charging additional fees once a unit has been vacated and turned over to the provider for resale. Residents who purchase these refund on resale contracts do so because they want to leave an asset for their heirs. They want to create a benefit. They want to do something good. They have no idea that what they may be doing is setting their heirs up for years of haggling with providers over ongoing fees and repayment of the amount due. Imagine trying to settle probate on an estate where this issue has drawn out for an extended period of time. We need SB 939 to eliminate these unfair practices. I thank you for your time today and urge your yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, members of the Assembly Committee. My name is Lynn Davis, and I have testified 5 times in the last 2 years on Senate Bill 475 first, and now on Senate Bill 939. My personal experience leads to my strong support of this bill. My mother's estate was not repaid by Forest Hill Manor, a CCRC located in Pacific Grove. It took 68 months, over 5.5 years, for the facility to repay $250,000 to my mother's estate after her apartment was vacated on a 90% repayable contract. Another friend of mine, Leon Stutzman, passed away in the same facility. Dr. Stutzman had a 90% repayable contract, and it was not paid for 42 months after he passed. 42 months with no interest, 42 months with a probate and estate open, 42 months in which his disabled daughter, which he had a trust set up to fund that daughter when he passed, that was not paid because the facility had his $530,000. I retired as the Executive Director of Legal Services for Seniors in Monterey County. As an attorney, I had no recourse but to sit and wait 68 months for this facility to repay. Why? Because the law as it stands right now allows them not to repay until they resell the apartment. The current law allows these CCNRs to pick and choose apartments that they wish to sell. They profit by selling apartments with no repayable contracts. If they sell an apartment with a repayable contract, they have to refund 70 to 90% depending on the contract terms. With no interest requirement, the current law allows CCRCs to profit by these interest-free loans. The exact repayment time is totally under the control of the CCNRC. When they decide to resell a repayable apartment, then and only then are they required under the current law to repay the residents or their estate. In the past, and I've been here 2 years, the CCNRCs and some of the have claimed that they don't invest the 90% in interest-bearing accounts. There has been absolutely no evidence shown that they do this, that they haven't invested that money. So I say this argument is totally without merit. They've collected millions of dollars on these repayable contracts that have no firm repayment date and no interest. Seniors may decide to move from one facility to another, and they have most of their assets or all of their assets tied up in the first facility. Until that facility decides to sell their former apartment, the senior has no assets to invest in a new residence, and since there's no interest, they have no current cash flow. I've sat here and heard an out-of-state developer claim that if interest is charged on these repayable contracts, it will mean current residents will be forced to pay more. This is a scare tactic was introduced the day Senator Monning introduced this bill. I saw it at Forest Hill. I saw the documents come out to the residents. The out-of-state, there has been absolutely no evidence shown, pro forma shown that the current residents will have to pay more. Seems like it would have been an easy thing for them to do. The out-of-state developer wants no change in the current law so they can profit from holding interest-free loans for indefinite periods. You just heard from the California Residents Association, CCRC Residents Association, that they support 939. Why would the Residents Association back 939 if the resulting law would be detrimental to the 30,000 residents of CCNRCs in California? Seniors in California need to be protected. I ask you to vote in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any others in favor of the bill that are supporting the bill?
Sarah Linder on behalf of the National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, in support.
Tippy Irwin, member of California Long-Term Care Ombudsman Association and also San Mateo Ombudsman Program, in support.
Carol Sewell, California Commission on Aging, in support.
Good afternoon. Aaron Lewis for the Consumer Federation of California, in support.
Karen Rabison. I'm a resident of Escaton Village, Carmichael, in strong support. Thank you.
My name is Joyce Gilbertson. I'm also a resident of Escaton Village, Carmichael, and I support this bill.
Carl Buchholz. I'm a resident at Escaton Village, Carmichael at CCRC. I support this bill.
Graham Gilbertson, resident at Escaton Village. I strongly support this bill. Thank you.
My name is Bill Schubauer. I'm a resident of URC, CCRC in Davis, and I support this bill.
Are there any in opposition to this bill? Come forward, please.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Adam Kane, and I'm representative of Erickson Living, the nation's largest developer and operator of continuing care retirement communities. I think I was sort of introduced by the previous witness. It's a pleasure to be here. I do want to thank Madam Chair Lady for the attention you've paid to this issue and the work you put in it, as well as I'd like to thank Senator Monning, too, because it's been a lengthy year and a half or 2 years on this issue, and we've appreciated all the dialogue that we've had about CCRCs. Erickson has about 24,000 units of CCRCs across the country, all entrance fee. Again, we focus on really large-scale communities that drive affordability and drive an increasing amount of health care and amenities so that people have a high quality of life and high quality of health care. We oppose the part of this bill that imposes penalties on the entrance fee refunds because, as the last witness says, the source of repayment of those penalties inevitably fall to the existing residents. And they fall to the residents for the benefit of what is largely estates and adult children. And so we believe that the costs of these penalties shouldn't be borne by existing seniors in a facility for the benefit of estates and adult children. Now, we certainly appreciate and understand the frustration that the prior witnesses had on lengthy repayments, but we think overall shifting the costs to existing residents and seniors for the benefit of states is a wrong-headed framework. The other issue we have, obviously, in that situation is that, our company tries very hard to provide some of the most affordable CCRC product on the market and across the country. And this is yet another thing that will increase the costs of operating and developing in California. California's real biggest problem is the lack of senior housing and the lack of production of senior housing. As everybody knows, with the aging population, the 65 and older population will double over the next 20 years. And today, California has the lowest penetration of senior housing in 6 out of the 10 lowest markets, and it's a huge problem for California. The second part of it is California is not producing much senior housing at all. So the demographics will tell you there's exploding need and there's no housing production, and that's actually the biggest issue that California faces for senior housing. And this bill does nothing to address that and certainly inhibits that. And second of all, the second biggest problem is affordability for senior living. This bill adds costs to senior living when our biggest challenge is producing senior living product that's affordable to more and more people. So while we certainly understand the concerns of the prior witnesses, and we certainly understand and appreciate the work that Senator Monning has put into this, we remain respectfully opposed to this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other opposing the legislation? And we're trying to bring this to a head because we do have another hearing. So if you...
My name is Joel Goldman. I'm a partner with Hanson Bridget.
Can you push the button down there? Thank you.
My name is Joel Goldman. I'm a partner with Hanson Bridget in San Francisco, and I'm here on behalf of the California Assisted Living Association. First of all, I want to echo Adam's remarks, Senator. We really do appreciate the dialogue that we've had, and we are actually very supportive of most of the aspects of the legislation, in particular the requirement of disclosing what the average length of time is to sell. We're very much in favor of transparency, and as well as other aspects of the bill, that no fees be charged once it's vacated, and also the ability of a CCRC to give a refund before a unit is resold. Our concern, too, is with the interest penalty, and the concern is exactly as was reflected, that it will ultimately be borne by the residents who are still living in the community for the benefit of the estate of those who have passed away. There was an issue that was brought up during the testimony. It's a legitimate one, where a resident may choose to move to another CCRC or anywhere else. We would be very willing to work with the Senator to provide for a dichotomy between those situations, which are relatively rare, and the overwhelming majority of circumstances where residents get the refund because they've passed away. Again, in the example that was given, with a 6.5-year period of time to resell a unit, and that only happened during a shockingly bad real estate market. But we have to allow for those cycles, and our concern is that it's during those down cycles when units cannot be resold that this interest penalty will be dramatic. There would have been probably about at a $500,000 refund over a period of 6 years at 6%. I can't do the math in my head, but it's something close to $200,000 that would have been owing at that point. Senator mentioned in a prior hearing that the 6-month time frame for when the penalties kick in was based on average or sort of the resale times that providers had testified to. What that doesn't take into account is that it takes time to put a unit on the market. When any of us go to sell our home, we first fix it up before we have that first open house. In most cases, you've got seniors who've been living in the apartment for quite a period of time, and there may be a good deal of renovation, refurbishing that needs to be done. So we'd like to see at a minimum that the interest be kicked out and not start, as it currently does, at 180 days, but to push that out further. Thank you.
And how far do you want it pushed out?
I think ideally to have the interest start to kick in after a year would be a more realistic figure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any others in opposition? Seeing none, we'll turn it back over to questions.
Senator, first of all, I do want to thank you for the changes in this bill from last year. I think in particular the prospective nature of the bill was a very important improvement in the bill, and I thank you for that and the work you've done with stakeholders around. I have to respectfully say I remain in opposition to the bill. The part of this that has not come up in any of the testimony here today that I think is most essential on this bill is that this isn't a two-way consumer protection issue between a facility and a resident. That is obviously a part of it, but it's really a three-handed conversation. It's the facility operator, it's the resident, and it's the fellow residents, and how the costs of different scenarios are going to be borne. And approximately 80% of the CCRC beds in California today are nonprofit operated beds, which means that the costs that are imposed, whether we like it or not, the costs that are imposed are going to be borne by fellow residents. And we have a crisis of housing access in this state. We were speaking earlier about a previous bill about how seniors don't have the savings and don't have the insurance for long-term care for the services and the residential support they need as seniors. And my fear about this bill and the direction we're going with this is that we're going to impose higher costs on fellow residents, and we are going to reduce the investment in housing in California to serve seniors. And I am obviously I'm very sympathetic to the people who have waited generally in very weak housing markets, but have waited for their payments. If they owned their own home, if they owned their own townhouse, they would have no one to go to. They would have to wait till the market cleared and they could sell their property. We can't make a unit be sold faster because it's part of a CCRC than we can because it's part of a residential owner-occupied complex. So I appreciate the work, but I remain in opposition.
Thank you. Mr. Gray?
Yeah, I just want to commend the Senator for your hard work on this. Certainly the bill before us today seems consistent with our discussion from last year, and I appreciate you being back at the table, having made some concessions, but also just wanted to, it's not always that people are consistent these days with the deals that we've made. And Madam Chair, thank you for honoring the deal we made last year with today's hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Levine?
I move the bill.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Would you like to close?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I do appreciate the support voiced and the concerns voiced, and I do feel compelled to just comment on a couple of the remarks made by opposition. As Assemblymember Gray pointed out, what's in front of you today is the result of an agreement that was negotiated last year. But what's changed is we've pushed the timelines out at the request of one of the opponents who today seeks further timelines when it was the negotiation with them that resulted in the 6-month timeline. So the goalposts keep moving every time we bring this forward. I believe we've acted in very good faith. The concerns voiced by Erickson Living, I appreciate their engagement from day one on this, but in their own introduction, they are an out-of-state developer. They don't currently have developments in the state of California. They have another model that they would prefer that I think could be the subject of future legislation, but they've sought to use my bill to try to address their business concerns when my bill, first and foremost, is designed to protect residents. And I find it interesting for those in opposition who talk about their concern for residents when the Residents Association that represents current residents in California facilities are supportive of this bill. I also want to thank the Chair and your staff for endeavoring with us to continue to work with this, and also with the Governor's Office and DSS who have worked with us to get the bill to a point that removed opposition last year. Those efforts seem to have brought back the opposition this year, but with that, I respect all of those who have worked with us to first and foremost protect seniors living in these care facilities in California. I would respectfully urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I will be supporting this bill. And I'll be supporting this bill, one, because we spent so many hours on it, and because of the support that the community has given to this bill. When it comes to the opposition, I've spoken with them as well, and we're willing, because they have a different model, we're willing to have some legislation next year that will address their concerns, because you're right, we need to have more senior housing and more options in senior housing in California. And your proposal and the way that you build your facilities is absolutely gorgeous. They are very nice. So it would be a welcome addition to this market. And as I told you today and a couple days ago, and we will look at your model in a different way. So if if my colleagues would allow, I would like to move this, and I would hope that they would support me in this, and support Mr. Monning. And Senator Monning, thank you so much for working with me, and thank you for making me understand as well.
Thank you.
Call the roll.
Brown?
Aye.
Brown, aye. Hadley?
No.
Hadley, no. Dolly?
No.
Dolly, no. Gibson? Gray? Sorry. Gray, aye. Levine? Aye. Levine, aye. Lopez? Aye. Lopez, aye.
We'll keep the roll open, but as of right now, we needed 4 for it to get out, so it will
Well,
be
thank you,
out.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, members, all of you. Thanks.
Thank you. We're next going to go into our information hearing, and I am sorry that some of the time was eaten up, but all of this is important. Just a moment. If you'll move quickly out of the room, and if we could have Dr. Bredesen, I think you're the first one up. Is he the first one? Okay. Right now?